Have you ever looked up at the big blue sky on a beautiful day and seen long white lines stretching from one horizon to the other? It looks like a giant skywriter has been doodling up there, leaving a fluffy trail behind a tiny silver airplane. These white stripes can be thin and disappear quickly, or sometimes they spread out, becoming wider and fuzzier over time, almost like wispy clouds. People see them all over the world, crisscrossing the sky above cities, countryside, and even oceans. It's a common sight, but it has made a lot of people wonder, what exactly is that white smoke, and where does it come from? These sky trails are most visible on clear, sunny days when there are few other clouds around to distract you. You might be playing outside, having a picnic, or just looking out your window when you spot a high-flying jet leaving one of these lines in its wake. Sometimes you see several of them at once, creating a tic-tac-toe pattern against the deep blue canvas of the sky. The sight is pretty cool, but it has also sparked a lot of questions and even some scary stories. Some people have come up with wild ideas, suggesting that these lines are filled with mysterious, harmful chemicals being sprayed on us from above. But let's put on our science goggles and look at the facts. The truth is much less like a movie plot and much more like a simple science experiment happening thousands of feet above our heads. These white lines aren't a secret plan. They are a natural and well-understood phenomenon. To understand what's really going on, we need to think about what an airplane engine does and what the air is like way, way up there where the jets fly. It's all about temperature, pressure, and some basic chemistry that you might have even learned about in your science class. So, before we jump to any spooky conclusions, let's explore the science behind these amazing sky stripes. We're going to break down what they're made of, how they form, and answer the big question, are they dangerous? Science is all about observation, evidence, and logical explanations. By the end of this, you'll be able to look up at the sky, see one of those white lines, and explain to your friends and family exactly what's happening. It's not a mystery when you have science on your side. Consider this, science is the key that unlocks the secrets of the universe, even the ones in our own sky. So, what are those white lines really? Scientists have a special name for them: contrails. The word itself is a clue. It's a mashup of two words: condensation and trails. A contrail is simply a trail of condensation, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a line of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. Think about a cold winter day when you can see your breath. When you breathe out, the warm, moist air from your lungs hits the cold outside air and poof, a little cloud forms right in front of your face. You're making a mini contrail. Airplane engines work in a similar way, but on a much, much bigger scale. Jet engines get incredibly hot to push the plane through the sky. As they burn fuel, they release hot exhaust, which is mostly made of carbon dioxide and water vapor, the same stuff you breathe out. Now, imagine that airplane flying very high up, around 30,000 feet or more. Up there, the air is extremely cold, often colder than minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. When the hot, wet exhaust from the engine blasts into this freezing cold air, the water vapor instantly freezes into billions of tiny ice crystals. These tiny ice crystals are what we see from the ground as a long white line. It's a man-made cloud, trailing behind the airplane just like a boat leaves a wake in the water. The reason you don't see these trails behind every single plane is that conditions have to be just right. The plane needs to be flying high enough where the air is cold enough. If the air up there is too dry, the ice crystals will turn back into invisible gas very quickly, and the contrail will disappear almost as fast as it forms. This is why some contrails are short and vanish right away. On the other hand, if the air at that altitude is very humid, meaning it already has a lot of water vapor in it, the contrail can last for a long time. The ice crystals from the engine exhaust actually pull more moisture out of the surrounding air, making the contrail grow wider and thicker. It can spread out and linger for hours, eventually looking just like a natural cirrus cloud, those thin, wispy clouds you see high in the sky. So, the appearance of a contrail tells us a lot about the weather conditions in the upper atmosphere. This is the big question that gets a lot of people worried. There are many stories and videos online claiming that these contrails are actually chemtrails, a secret government program to spray poisonous chemicals on everyone. These theories suggest the trails contain dangerous substances designed to control the weather, make people sick, or even control our minds. It sounds very scary, but when we use science to look at what's actually in these contrails, we find a much simpler and safer story. It's important to separate scary fiction from scientific fact. Let's break down the ingredients. The main ingredient in a contrail is, by far, water. Just like your breath on a cold day, it's mostly frozen water vapor, forming tiny ice crystals. The other things in the engine exhaust are the byproducts of burning jet fuel. This includes carbon dioxide, the same gas we all exhale and that plants use for photosynthesis. There are also small amounts of other substances, like nitrogen oxides, sulfates, and soot, which are common pollutants found in the exhaust from any engine, including cars and buses on the ground. So, are these other substances dangerous? Scientists have studied the composition of contrails for decades. They collect air samples using special scientific aircraft that fly right through the trails. Their findings consistently show that the concentrations of these other chemicals are incredibly low. By the time they spread out and drift down to the ground, if they even reach the ground at all, they are so diluted that they are virtually undetectable and pose no direct threat to people's health. The air we breathe in cities often contains far higher levels of similar pollutants from traffic and industry. The idea of a massive secret chemtrail program would also be nearly impossible to hide. It would require thousands of people, pilots, mechanics, fuel loaders, and scientists, to all be in on the secret without a single one of them ever coming forward with real proof. Scientists, pilots, and Air Force personnel around the world have repeatedly stated that contrails are a normal part of aviation. The evidence we have points to a natural atmospheric phenomenon, not a conspiracy. The scary stories are based on misunderstanding the science, not on any actual evidence of poisoning. Section 4, Science says nothing to worry about. So, after looking at all the scientific evidence, what's the final verdict? Should you be worried when you see those white lines in the sky? The clear and simple answer is no. The science is solid on this one. Contrails are not a secret spray program or a form of poison falling from the sky. They are essentially man-made ice crystal clouds that form under specific atmospheric conditions. They are a predictable and natural consequence of flying planes with hot engines through the freezing cold upper atmosphere. It's a cool display of physics and chemistry in action, high above our heads. Thinking critically is one of the most important skills in science. It means we should ask questions and look for evidence instead of just believing a scary story we hear. In this case, the evidence from decades of atmospheric science, chemistry, and aviation is overwhelming. The chemtrail theory lacks any credible proof and has been debunked by scientists worldwide. When you have a simple, logical, and evidence-based explanation that contrails are frozen water vapor, there's no need to invent a complicated and frightening one. The simplest answer is usually the right one. While the contrails themselves are not directly harmful to us on the ground, it is important to note that aviation does have an impact on our environment, just like cars and factories do. The carbon dioxide and other emissions from airplanes contribute to climate change, and the way long-lasting contrails can spread out may have a small effect on the amount of sunlight reaching the Earth. Scientists are actively studying these effects to find ways to make flying more environmentally friendly for the future of our planet. This is a real issue that scientists are working on, unlike the fictional threat of chemtrails. So, the next time you see a white trail streaming behind an airplane, you can look at it with a sense of wonder, not fear. You can think about the freezing cold air up there and the hot engines making clouds. You can be the science expert who explains to others what's really going on. The world is full of amazing natural phenomena, and understanding the science behind them makes it all the more fascinating. Those white stripes aren't a reason to worry. They're a reason to be curious and to appreciate the incredible science that is all around us and even way up in the sky.